It's the Flow Friday night sports show, repeated 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. Dan Crouch. Well, it's good to have you in the studio, but I'm feeling like we're missing someone.
Certainly does feel that way. Could that be someone by the name of the Flowman by any chance?
Well, it probably is actually. He's out and about at the moment, but fear not, good folk of our Flow network. The Flowman is on the line. We need to get him on now because he's been doing some reconnaissance. I can't even say it. Reconnaissance for us through the week. Flowman, how are you, mate?
Hey, you're good, Dan, and good, Jace. I have to say, the reconnaissance, I've been trying to sell some advertising, fellas, but they all want to talk about football, and by the time I get around to advertising, I put them to sleep.
Well, there's been a bit going on in country footy over there on the West Coast, Flowman. So, look, we're going to talk to Cookie a little bit later on. That's Matt Cook, the president of the Midwest Football League, but I know you've been a bit further up. What's happening in Far West football and netball, Flowman? What have you learned on your travels that you can tell us tonight?
Yeah, look, there's some very interesting things coming out of it. I can say that one of the stars and the current reigning male medalist, given that we didn't have footy in this part of the world last year, Jesse Chandler, is playing at Norwood this year. Played down at Lincoln in their competition last year, enjoyed the hit out down there, and the scout got him across from Norwood, and so Jesse's going to be playing over in the SANFL, which is interesting. His brother Cade, of course, from out of the Western United Footy Club, they're traditionally one of the really great sides in country football. Cade's playing at the Melbourne D's, and in a trial match today, kicked a couple of goals against Richmond. So good effort from young Cade Chandler to start off his season. But look, the talk over here is really all about Far West football and a name change and two clubs entering their competition. What I've learned, I've had a long conversation with Ronnie Redford, the president, and that is that it would appear from voting at last night's meetings that the West Coast Hawks from Streaky Bay region and the Wirralur Bombers have voted to enter into the Far West comp, but under what presumably would be a new name, and it would be called Western Eyre Peninsula. And this is part of what was a zoned type view for 2022. My mail is that subject to the approval by SA Community Football, that we could be seeing this happen in 2021.
Well, that will be very interesting. And, of course, when we chat with Matt Cook, the president of Midwest, a little bit later on in the hour, Dan, that's going to, it's going to answer a couple of questions we already had, I think.
It certainly is. Certainly sounds that way.
So, Flowman, what about the netball side of things, and what else are you hearing around the traps in Eyre Peninsula football? If we're looking at the Midwest situation, and I'm sure Matt will tell us more about that, but I mean, there's a couple of clubs unaccounted for there. What's going on there? What are you hearing?
Well, I think we both had the same mail on Central Eyre United. It's very unlikely that there would be a Midwest Football League. They were looking at a meeting of presidents for next Tuesday. Matt will confirm where that status of that meeting is at. I think they've got an issue now that the horse may well have bolted. I'm going to be out at the Penong races, and I'll tell you, fellas, I was out there a few years ago at the Penong races, and one of the horses got over the finish line and it lost its jockey at the finish line, and then it bolted. And it bolted for kilometres over the back of the hill of Penong. And I never forget this black horse just going across the hill line there, bolting away, and the cars in pursuit. And let me tell you, I think that's what's happened here with the Midwest Football League. I think what we're going to find is that we've got clubs going in all directions. I think, as I've just mentioned, where two of them are going up into what will be the Far West or renamed competition. I think you'll find that Central Eyre United, amalgamation of Woodner and the Bulldogs, they will end up over in Eastern Eyre. I'm hearing that an application has been made by Elliston and Western districts who would be joining together. Now, the status of that joining together and how that looks as a club, I haven't been able to confirm. What I have been able to confirm is that an application has gone to Great Flinders Football League, and that the two clubs would play home games at 3 venues. Now, I'm told that there could be a home game at Minipur and another at Poochera, and that if Great Flinders accepted them in, that would be for 2021 a 7-team competition. But That is unconfirmed. It would have to be ratified by the South Australian Community Football, but from where I'm sitting, I've had a number of people pass this information to me. I think that I can say it publicly, which I just did, that that is where that sits. And I can't see, even with Cookie coming on, and he may be able to confirm that with us in our interview with him tonight, I can't see that changing, Jason.
All right. Well, Flowman, we'll leave EP football there and just have a look at what's coming up in around... actually, before we talk about football, you mentioned the Penong races. Have you got a tip for the Penong races?
It's Humphrey. I think I'll just go with him, even if he's not running. I'm not sure if he is. He won at Sejuna last year, and I'm pretty sure that he's had some success in more recent times. So, look, I think if you pick a Bushy Trinowden horse, then you could be on a good thing. Bushy does well at this race meeting at Penong. It's only a small one, only usually 4 or 5 horses in each race, usually 4 or 5 races on the card, including the Farmers' Cup, which is a big one because it's a huge event for all of the farmers across the far west coast of the Eyre Peninsula.
Now, Flowman, we're going to have a look at what's happening down in the southeast of the state football-wise next week. But first, let's have a quick look at some other leagues that have some starting dates confirmed. We might have a look first at Adelaide Plains. Now, it looks like their season's going to kick off on Saturday, April the 17th, and I note with interest that it does include Balaclava.
Yes, the SA Community Football knocked back their application to go to the Northeastern Football League. It's funny how SA Community Football will probably approve applications in other locations but knock others back. It's a strange conundrum, this is. It
is. They will host Malala in their first game of the year at Anglevale Oval. Virginia taking on Anglevale there. They'll flog them. United will host Hamley Bridge and probably do likewise there at Long Plains. And Two Wells will travel to Port Wakefield to take on Hummocks Watchman Eagles. Watchman Eagles. So that should be an interesting game too, Flowman, for round one.
Yeah, good start, and they'll be interested to get back because remember the Hummocks Watchman Eagles and Balaclava both didn't play last year in the Adelaide Plains reformed league, which then took in the Butte Roosters from out of the Yorke Peninsula. They'll go back to Yorke Peninsula footy this year. They
will indeed. A couple of other leagues that we can have a look at. Northeastern, looking forward to their comp this year. They will have a beauty, and they get underway on Saturday, the 24th of April, so we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for them.
Well, that's a pretty late start, but they also, I think, have altered their league. After they had the shortened format last year, that was well received, and I think that's where they may be heading this year. Back to their 8 clubs. You'd under Robertstown, the Southern Saints will be back, and the BBH Rams, I'm told, will be back, although they are really fighting to find the players, the BBH Rams. It's been a real tough struggle for them in the last few years, and last year with COVID-19 never helps that club that's on the edge or the external part of where the capture of the league is. So I'll be waiting with interest to see just where the BBH Rams are at this year.
Been a struggle in northern areas as well. I know there was a meeting to talk about the future of this competition in a couple of the clubs recently, but thankfully it's all been ironed out and it looks like it's all systems go for Northern Areas football. We'll be talking about them through the year in the Winter Sports Show. Jamestown, Peterborough back into the fold, and they host a game round 1 against Southern Flinders, and that is Saturday, April 17. Flowman?
Yeah, a bit of rivalry that's built over the time here with Jamestown, Peterborough. A lot of the Southern Flinders boys come across from Appala. It's sort of halfway between the two, and it is going to be an absolute beauty. But I'm pleased that they're just back playing. Orroroo, of course, going to be strong as they always are. And then down by the seaside, look out for Broughton Mundura.
Very quickly, Yorke Peninsula Football Butte back into the fold. They host Wallaroo round 1, which is Saturday, April the 10th. So they're not far away from getting underway, Flowman.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the Cougars having an outing again. They will be really excited because no football down the peninsula. And if you live down, say, further south, like the Southern Eagles in Waruka and Edithburgh and those beautiful little towns down there, like the terrific Yorktown, they are so far to get up the peninsula, and nothing played last year. Really hard for those little towns down that end of the peninsula because it was a real struggle for things to do. Obviously go fishing, but that makes it harder the next year to get the kids back on the park. Been motorbike riding, a lot of the kids. So we're hoping they all come back and play footy.
Sam Jacobs trotting around for Ardrossan too, I'm led to believe. That should be interesting, Flowman.
Yes, I tell you what, there'll be a bit of niggle in it when Arthur and Maitland take on Ardrop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. We'll leave it there, Flowman. Look forward to catching up with you again next week. Drive safe and look forward to having you back on deck next week.
Yeah, thanks, Dan and Jason.